Michael Scofield's escape plan from Fox River wasn't just brilliant, it was brutal. On the surface, it looked like a story of genius and precision, a flawless master plan unfolding step by step. But the truth is, every move came with a price. For every wall he broke through, there was a sacrifice. For every victory, there was collateral damage. He wasn't just breaking out of prison, he was breaking lives, bending rules, and in many ways, breaking himself. His plan wasn't written on paper, it was carved into his very skin, carried in every calculated glance, every carefully chosen word. And yet, behind all the brilliance was a darker reality. Freedom didn't come free. It demanded pain, betrayal, and consequences that even Michael couldn't control. Today, we're peeling back the layers to uncover the unthinkable cost of Michael's plan, and why. His genius came with sacrifices no one could have imagined. Asterisk, the escape plan didn't start in Fox River, it started the moment Michael Scofield made the unthinkable choice to throw his own life away. On the outside, Michael had everything. He was a successful structural engineer, intelligent, respected, and free. But none of that mattered once his brother, Lincoln Burroughs, was sentenced to death for a crime. Michael believed he didn't commit, so Michael orchestrated his own downfall. He walked into a bank, staged an armed robbery, and calmly surrendered to the police. To the world, it looked like madness. But to Michael, it was the only way inside Fox River. In that single act, he sacrificed his career, his reputation, and the very identity he had built for himself. He went from engineer to inmate in seconds, and he did it willingly. But the cost didn't stop there. Prison isn't just about losing freedom, it's about surrendering control of your life. From that moment on, Michael put himself in a world of violence, gangs, and predators. Knowing full well he might never walk out alive, he risked his sanity, his safety, and his soul, all for the slim chance of saving Lincoln. This wasn't just an escape plan, it was a death sentence Michael wrote for himself, and the pilot episode makes one thing clear. Before any wall is broken, before any tunnel is dug, Michael had already paid the first price, trading his entire world for one desperate gamble. Inside Fox River, Michael's escape wasn't something he could pull off alone, and that became both his strength and his curse. To move forward, he needed people. Sucre, his cellmate, was one of the first to be pulled into the plan. At first, it seemed harmless. Sucre just wanted to get back to Maricruz, the woman he loved. But what Michael didn't tell him was that joining the escape meant trading one prison for another, a lifetime of running, hiding, and never truly being free. By making Sucre part of the conspiracy, Michael tied his friend's fate to his own. Whether Sucre was ready or not, then came John Abruzzi, a man whose hands were already soaked in blood. To secure Abruzzi's cooperation, Michael dangled the promise of D.B. Cooper's hidden millions. But this wasn't just manipulation, it was temptation. Michael fed Abruzzi's greed, knowing full well it could unleash violence at any moment. Every handshake with Abruzzi was a deal with the devil, and that risk hung over everyone in the plan. And then there was Theodore Bagwell, T-Bag. In one of the most unthinkable decisions, Michael allowed him to stay part of the escape. Not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. Cutting him out would have meant bloodshed, and keeping him in meant unleashing a predator into freedom. Either way, it was a cost Michael had to live with, and it showed just how far he was willing to compromise morality for the sake of success. But perhaps the most painful toll was with Sara Tancredi. With her, Michael's relationship blurred the line between strategy and genuine feeling. Every time he walked into the infirmary, every moment he shared with her carried double meaning. He needed her trust to make his plan work, but in winning her trust, he found himself forming a bond that was real, and that's where the cost cut deepest. Sara wasn't a pawn in Michael's eyes, but by pulling her into his orbit, she became one. Her heart, her career, her very life were placed on the line without her ever truly agreeing to play the game. In Fox River, relationships weren't just friendships or romances. To Michael, they became tools, risks, and sacrifices. But the cost was staggering, because in using people as pieces on his chessboard, he risked losing the very thing he cared about most, the people themselves. Asterisk, carving the blueprint of an entire prison onto his body wasn't just a feat of genius, it was a test of endurance, patience, and sheer willpower. Michael spent hours under the tattoo needle, each line swirl and symbol burning into his skin with agonizing precision. But the pain of the ink was only the beginning. Beneath the surface, he was carrying an invisible weight that no one could see. The mental strain was relentless. Every move had to be timed perfectly. Every interaction calculated down to the second. A slip of the tongue, a misstep in the workshop. A glance that lingered too long, any of these could unravel months of preparation. Michael's mind became a constant battlefield, juggling escape routes, hidden tools, prison schedules, guard routines, and the unpredictable behaviors of his fellow inmates. And above all, there was Lincoln. Knowing that his brother's life literally depended on his every decision added a crushing layer of pressure. One mistake could mean death, not just for Michael, but for Lincoln. The tattoos weren't just a map. They were a mental anchor, a guide that reminded him of the stakes with every step, day after day. The physical pain of the tattoos merged with the mental torment of perfection. Michael's body became a living blueprint, and his mind a machine constantly calculating outcomes and contingencies. The weight of the plan pushed him to the brink of collapse, testing not only his intelligence and courage, but his very humanity. To outsiders, he was calm and composed, but inside, Michael Scofield was carrying the heaviest burden imaginable, all in the name of saving his brother. What made Michael's plan truly unthinkable was that it didn't just affect the guilty. Innocents got hurt. Guards were manipulated. Sara's career and reputation were shattered, and people outside the prison found themselves in danger simply because Michael had to succeed. His genius was a double-edged sword. For every brilliant move, someone paid a price. Freedom wasn't free. It came at the expense of those who never asked to be part of his war. At the very core of Michael Scofield's escape plan lies a haunting question. Was it worth it? Saving Lincoln meant more than carving blueprints into his skin or crafting tools from soap. It meant transforming himself from a man of reason into a man of deception, manipulation, and compromise. Michael didn't just walk into Fox River with an escape plan. He walked in with the willingness to stain his hands, if that's what it took to protect his brother. But that sacrifice carried a darker weight. Every alliance he forged came with a cost. To secure Abruzzi's help, he dangled the myth of D.B. Cooper's hidden millions, feeding greed to a dangerous mobster. To survive Teabag, he had to play a careful game, knowing that keeping him close meant unleashing a predator into the escape. To protect Sucre, he had to drag him into a conspiracy that could destroy his chance at a normal life. And with Dr. Sara Tancredi, every lie he told chipped away at her trust, forcing Michael to use compassion as a tool, even when he genuinely cared for her. Each step blurred the line between right and wrong, turning Michael into something more than just a hero, but less than innocent. His tattoos weren't just inked with prison blueprints, but with a moral map that twisted and folded the deeper he went. He wasn't only breaking out of Fox River, he was breaking parts of himself. The unthinkable truth is that Michael's brilliance was never pure. It was survival wrapped in lies, love entangled with manipulation, and genius soaked in blood. And that's the tragedy of Prison Break. Michael didn't just pay with his freedom or his body, he paid with his soul. Asterisk. Michael Scofield's escape will always stand as one of television's greatest masterplans, meticulous, daring, and unforgettable. But when the dust settles, we're left with a haunting truth. Genius never comes without sacrifice. Every step Michael took left cracks behind him. His freedom was never just his own. It was built on the backs of allies who trusted him, enemies he manipulated, and innocents who got caught in the fire. From Sucre, who risked his chance at love, to Abruzzi, who gambled his empire, to Sara, who was pulled into a storm she never asked for. Michael's brilliance had consequences that stretched far beyond the prison walls, and for Michael himself, the cost was even deeper. He didn't just carve the plan into his skin. He carved away pieces of his soul, trading safety, peace, and even morality for one goal, saving his brother. That's the real tragedy of Prison Break. The plan wasn't only about breaking out of Fox River. It was about what it broke along the way. Trust, innocence, and ultimately, Michael himself. And that's why, even years later, his escape doesn't just feel like a triumph. It feels like a wound that never truly healed.